Hey, Ron here from Military Images magazine with a new episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail. You know, I'm wrapping up a project which has consumed a considerable amount of my time over the last few months. It's for the Daguerrean Society. And if you're not a member or are interested in learning more about 19th century photography, go check out the Daguerrean Society. You can find their website online. Anyway, I'm working on a story for them, and part of the story is a photo gallery of cartes de visite. And I'm seeking to tell the story of the Civil War through portraits. And so I initially thought, well, I can probably do this in 25 images, and I just can't capture so many aspects of the war, political, military, cultural, on the home front, off the home front, the Navy, elsewhere. It's been a real big challenge. So I figure I can probably do this in 40 images. And one of the images I want to share with you in this episode, because I've dedicated one image to Zouaves. And if you are not a student of the Civil War or just learning about the war, the Zouave movement, which has North African colonial French influences with Islamic influences as well, that manifest itself in these wonderful uniforms that became popularized in America by Elmer Ephraim Ellsworth. He had a group called the U.S. Zouave Cadets. He took them on a national tour in the summer of 1860. And as a result, military companies across the country on both sides began to adopt this look, or a style based upon the Zouave tradition. And it manifested itself in many, many different ways, depending upon the locality in the United States and the tastes of those who were organizing these military companies. So this particular uniform I chose in this particular photograph as the representative image to mark the Zouave mania that swept America. And so this particular, I want to tell you a little bit about this uniform. This individual served, and we don't know who he is. It's an unidentified soldier. He served in the 53rd New York Infantry, which was popularly known for its commander, Colonel Lionel Jobert D'Epineuil, who was a native of France, came to the United States, and he brought this uniform with him. In fact, it's closely modeled on the French Imperial Zouaves. Now, there's a great write-up about this uniform in a book by Daniel J. Miller. It's called American Zouaves, 1859 to 1959. And if you haven't seen this book, go check it out. It's a wonderful resource on Zouave uniforms, a whole century of them. So Dan describes the uniforms like this, quote, just short of spectacular. Manufactured of the finest materials by Brooks Brothers in New York, it consisted of a red fez with yellow tassel, dark blue jacket, blue trousers, and vest trimmed in bright yellow, leather graves, white canvas leggings, and light blue sash. Dan adds, quote, the uniform included a light blue hooded cloak known as a talma. You can see the talma laying across the balustrade in this photograph. You also might notice that Dan, in his description, said that it was a fez, a red fez, his headgear, with a yellow tassel. And if you look, you'll notice that the tassel coming off of this fez appears to be black. And it actually was yellow, but because of the limitations of photography during the 1860s, yellow, a bright yellow, photographed as a very, very dark blackish color. So that explains why you see literally the opposite of what was reality. So the uniforms in 1861, they cost the government of New York $100 each. In today's money, that's $2,958. So roughly $3,000 for one of these uniforms. Now, a little bit more about the regiment. Almost the entire staff was from France. They were recruited from New York City and elsewhere, including a company of Native Americans from the Tuscarora Reservation in Western New York and volunteers from Philadelphia. I believe that this gentleman might have been from Philadelphia because the name of the photographer is imprinted on the back, and it's a Philadelphia photographer. So New York, Philadelphia, including Native Americans from Western New York. Now, this great looking regiment, you're maybe curious to know what happened to them. Well, they mustered into the Union Army in mid-November of 1861 for a 3-year term, but they never completed their enlistment. In March 1862, only 4 months into its term, the regiment was disbanded due to a myriad of problems, including failed leadership and poor morale. So here they had these great uniforms, but they did not have the esprit de corps to bring it all together and to remain in the army. So there you have it, the story of one Zouave regiment with these spectacular uniforms. Until the next time, we'll see you on the trail.